little bit ago, I did a video called All Trump's Crimes, wherein I listed all of the crimes believed to be committed by Donald Trump between 2015 and now. One viewer said they were interested in the idea, but wasn't willing to sit through a 2-hour stream. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Here they are in abridged form, but for the record, I did the work. And if you'd like to see me rant about it for 2 hours, there is, of course, going to be a link in the description when I upload the VOD. 2015 and 2016, 10 campaign finance crimes and subsequent cover-ups. These include the campaign finance violations that sent Michael Cohen to prison, wherein the DOJ concluded that Cohen broke the law for an unnamed individual one, who they clarify went on to win the election for president. The statute of limitations expired on all but one of those crimes in 2022. That means we can no longer seek justice for the American people on any of them. One is being investigated at the state level only, but that investigation only exists because the statute of limitations was likely extended due to the subject's continuing absence from the state of New York. Trump. Even so, the deadline to file charges was 2021 on that count, making the case near impossible to be heard in court. We've already let Donald Trump get away with 10 campaign finance violations. All we can do now to preserve our dignity is to put an asterisk next to his presidency whenever we list it in a textbook to clarify that he got to office through illegal means. 2017, 2018, and 2019, 13 instances of obstruction of the Russia and special counsel investigations. The crimes involved include obstruction of justice, witness tampering, making false statements, and criminal violations of the Ethics in Government Act. These are the crimes laid out in the Mueller report, in which Robert Mueller made it clear that there was nothing stopping the DOJ from charging Trump with a crime after he left office. The statute of limitations will expire on half of those crimes in 2024. That's next year, folks. It has already expired on half of those crimes, unless they are considered to be part of a series of continuing wrongs or conspiracy. So again, 13 instances of obstruction of the Russia and special counsel investigations, and half of them we have already let him get away with. However, the investigation closed while Trump was still in office, and there is no indication that Attorney General Merrick Garland has reopened it. 2017 and 2019, 2 charges of making false public financial disclosure reports, including instances where Trump failed to disclose a gift and an asset in his 2019 public financial disclosure report. We use these reports to identify conflicts of interest so that we can keep our politicians honest. The gift took the form of free legal services from Rudy Giuliani, while the asset was the personal loan to his golf course in Scotland. The crime here is making a false statement and a criminal violation of the Ethics in Government Act. The statute of limitations for these crimes expires in 2024, as in the deadline to file charges is up in 2024, but there is no indication at all that Merrick Garland is working on it. If Garland needs help with this one, I'll show him how to win the case right now. Mr. Trump, did you receive a loan in 2019 for your golf course in Aberdeen, Scotland? Okay. Is this a copy of your 2019 financial disclosure report? The jury will note that the personal loan appears nowhere on the financial disclosure report. The prosecution rests. There. That's how you do it. That is how you try that in court. That is how you get one indictment on this guy. 2017 through 2021, 2 crimes related to willful destruction of presidential records while Trump was in office. According to officials familiar with the actions, hundreds of documents, if not more, were likely torn up, spanning a range of topics, including conversations with foreign leaders. He was destroying documents about conversations with foreign leaders. Those weren't his to destroy. Those are our documents. Reportedly, the problem was particularly acute at the time of the transition to the Biden administration. Although the Trump White House instituted special practices to deal with this shredded records, which included the people around him desperately taping them back together, it is unclear how many records were lost or permanently destroyed through Trump's ripping routine. The documents, which were literally flushed down the toilet, which the public got photographic evidence of this, so we know this is true, those are gone forever. Get any of those staffers under oath and ask them to repeat to the court what they said to the Washington Post. Because the deadline to file charges passed in 2022 for the times Trump destroyed our documents, your documents, my documents, documents we have ownership of during his first year in office. We cannot charge for that anymore. Literally, too much time passed for us to hold him accountable. And every year that goes by now without charges being filed will result in him getting away with more crimes. 2019, 5 charges for attempting to get Ukraine to interfere in the 2020 election, including bribery, coercion of political activity, misappropriation of federal funds, obstruction of justice, and soliciting unlawful foreign campaign contributions. That is as corrupt as you get. This is the series of crimes that earned Trump his first impeachment and showed Putin that America was so weak that he didn't have to worry about invading one of its allies. It's a low time for the country. The deadline to file charges in this matter, which arguably caused the second invasion of Ukraine, expires in 2024. There has been no investigation into the matter by the DOJ. None. Deadline expires in 2024. 2020, pressuring federal officers to use their official positions for partisan politics. The Office of Special Counsel determined that 13 senior Trump administration officials, including Secretary Pompeo and Acting Secretary Wolf, engaged in willful and repeated violations of the Hatch Act in the lead-up to the 2020 presidential election. OSC determined that Secretary Pompeo and Acting Secretary Wolf's violations originated within the White House, or possibly the Trump campaign or President Trump himself, and that President Trump laid the foundation for these and other Hatch Act violations by refusing to hold officials accountable for even the most flagrant and clear-cut Hatch Act violations. By the way, he violated the Hatch Act himself. If you think it might be difficult for Garland to prove, bear in mind that just days before delivering his speech, and against the advice of senior State Department lawyers, Secretary Pompeo approved a change to the State Department policy that until then had prohibited him and all other political appointees at the State Department from engaging in many partisan political activities, including addressing a political party convention. Under the new policy, the Secretary of State is not restricted from addressing a political party convention when requested by the president. It specifically says that in a new rule that Secretary Pompeo made that senior State Department lawyers said he shouldn't make. Is the State Department's lawyers' job to decide what would be a healthy policy for America? No, they're there to decide what is legal. That's what they advise on. They said, shouldn't do this. He did this. The president is specifically part of that. This should be a layup. Get Pompeo in court and ask him who said he should change that rule. Then let the gavel fall. 2020, 21 charges relating to attempts to steal the 2020 election. The charges include depriving state residents of a fair and impartial election process, interfering with primaries and elections, obstruction of an official proceeding, knowingly making a false statement, perjury, criminal solicitation to commit election fraud, criminal solicitation of a felony, influencing government officials to withhold or alter a record, conspiracy against rights, conspiracy to commit election fraud, conspiracy to defraud, conspiracy to prevent an officer from discharging any duties, seditious conspiracy, interference in an election by employees of federal or state governments, coercion of political activity, racketeer, influenced, and corrupt organizations violations. That's a RICO charge. Incite, assist, or aid and comfort of an insurrection, and intentional interference with the performance of election duties. The House January 6th committee did most of Attorney General Garland's work for him. If he's feeling lazy, I presume he can just play what he saw on we all saw on television in front of a judge. Those charges expire within the next 4 years. And most of the charges that expire this year are being investigated in Georgia at the state level. Let's hope Fulton County's district attorney has more guts, knowledge, and willpower than the Attorney General of the United States. 2021 and 2022, 2 charges relating to unlawful possession of government records, including unauthorized possession of national defense information and, once again, obstruction of justice. A special counsel investigation. A special counsel has been assigned to the investigation, although the evidence is blatant and the deadline to file charges is all the way in 2027. 2021 and 2022, profiting off post-election lies through wire fraud. If you'll recall, Trump obtained $250 million in contributions to the Save America PAC off of false claims that the 2020 election was stolen. A grand jury has been looking into this in part, and the deadline for filing charges is 2027. Okay. What's the recap of this? 56 crimes were committed against the American people. We can no longer seek justice for 56 crimes. We can no longer seek justice for 10 campaign finance crimes because the DOJ did nothing while the deadline for filing charges passed, effectively choosing to permit this behavior. We can no longer seek complete justice on 2 charges relating to the destruction of presidential records, which belong to you and me, because the deadline for any time Trump did these crimes in 2017 has passed. This year, the deadline will pass for any instances that occurred in 2018, and each day that goes by without an indictment, we lose the ability to seek justice on more of those crimes. There is no indication that Merrick Garland is investigating any instances of Trump destroying documents while in office. None. No indication. 13 instances of obstruction of the Russia and Special Counsel investigations are not currently being investigated, and the deadline to file charges has passed on half of them. The deadline to file charges, the deadline for 2 charges relating to making false public financial disclosure reports expires next year, and there is no active investigation into the matter. 5 crimes appear to have been committed in attempting to get Ukraine to interfere with the 2020 election. The filing deadline for those charges is next year, and there is no active investigation. That's 32 crimes. It would appear the DOJ, under Merrick Garland, has endorsed through inaction. The remaining 24 crimes relating to attempts to steal the 2020 election, stealing government secrets, and wire fraud are largely being investigated at the state level. I don't feel that Merrick Garland is going to seek justice for the American people. Whether it's because he's unwilling or because he's unable is irrelevant. The fact that failing to punish 32 crimes committed against and in front of the American people has happened. The fact that he has failed to punish 32 crimes committed against and in front of the American people, it's just unacceptable. If you agree with me, you can make Joe Biden aware of your opinion by filling out a White House contact form, which I will link below or in the chat. It would also be of use to get on social media and make your opinion known publicly while tagging Joe Biden as well as your representatives. If you're from Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, Pennsylvania, or Wisconsin, tell your state attorney general that you want them to open an investigation into the fake electors. It's been made painfully clear that if we want anything to be done about this, it must happen at a state level. Finally, tell Merrick Garland himself that you have seen his failure to pursue justice on 32 crimes and that you demand he indict Trump immediately or step aside for someone that knows how to build a case.